Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you again, and welcome to episode 9 of Cards in Hand. We are joined by a beautiful guest right here, the man, the myth, the legend, Sage, aka KekFilA. Thanks for joining us today, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I tell you what, as we were just talking about before this, we were talking about how basically Daniel and I did not get the best of sleep. But you know, we're like, we ran on 1 hour of sleep before our first day in LA for nationals.
I was I combined between the night before travel and then the night before nationals. I had a combined like 4.5 hours of sleep between the two nights. So yeah,
Dang, that's even better than me. I had an hour.
hey,
You
such
guys are
is life
probably
as
aren't
an
alone.
yeah.
In the comments, leave how much sleep you guys got before Nats, the day before Nats.
Yeah.
You know, the day, maybe how much the day of Nats when you're sleeping at the table, right? But how much sleep did you get? Because it was pretty bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So
Well, actually, funny enough, Daniel and I were in the Hello Kitty Island,
Bunk buddies.
yeah, bunk buddies, and
Yeah.
let me tell you, I actually slept better then before I flew out on Friday. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it was because I
Well,
was so
you
close to
had.
my best friend, you know?
Well, I was gonna say you had the warm presence of the one and only. It was you
yeah,
could feel the fatherly embrace
Oh, yeah.
of myself in the room, and when you have the presence of like a fatherly love within the room, it just quells the spirit. It just like relaxes the soul.
yeah.
It soothes the mind and the body,
Mm.
and it allows you to
Mm.
fall into a deep sleep, my friend.
That daddy energy makes you
Yep,
fall asleep. Damn.
exactly. You're in a safe place now, son. You're in a safe place now.
God, I never felt so loved until I was plugging in my phone and I was like, "Hey, Dad," down on beneath me on the bottom bunk, "do you mind, moving that charger so that I can reach up to the top
Oh
bunk?"
my
Man,
Dude, the way that we finagled that room was actually hilarious.
it
You
was
know what was
so, it
awesome?
was
You
impressive.
know what was awesome is I was actually sitting in traffic the other day, and I'm like, no lie, I'm in the far left lane, and there's a car that passes me up. It's a small SUV in the middle lane. It's passing me up, and it is fully decked out Hello Kitty,
Oh,
like
God.
pink with Hello Kitty like all over it. And it went by too fast for me to be able to snap a quick. But it was like that person designed the room that we stayed in LA, like
100%.
because it was literally like a one for one. Like all the images that we had in our room were literally slapped onto a pink car, and it was. I was like, this is too perfect, man. This is too perfect.
Sage, were
And
you in a hotel near the convention center?
yeah, I got a hotel. Pro tip: just get the hotel closest to the convention center. It saves you so much money on travel.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But maybe next time I'll just get a room with you guys,
Yeah.
so we can get that dead
Hey,
energy,
please.
so I can fall asleep better. You know?
The funny part
There's
about it was that we saved money on like the cost, right? So like as far as what we paid
Yeah.
per night, it was insane like how much money we saved. But
yeah.
that was kind of made back on how much we had to pay for Ubers back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all went collectively as a group, so we were
Yeah.
traveling 4 or 5 deep when it came to an Uber, which helped out significantly.
Yeah.
You know, it's a give take for anything like that. I think the biggest appeal for me, because like traveling back and forth, not the most convenient sense, but like for me, it was about having like built-in entertainment in the house, right?
Yeah.
So like if we wanted to get games in, if we wanted to watch, we watched football on Sunday together.
Yep.
Like it was like not having the need
Mm.
to like leave the room to or leave your wherever you're staying to like go enjoy yourself, to hang out. Like we had plenty of space to do what we
Yeah.
wanted. We could be
Yeah.
loud, like we watched football on Sun, like so it's a give take with anything. I know a lot of people stayed close to the hotel, and I think you know
Yeah.
there's a tremendous amount of benefit to that. But for me,
Yeah.
like it was very much like experiencing this with my friends and enjoying the moment a little. I will say
Yeah.
I gave that more priority than I was like, oh, I have to like make day two, get a hotel room by
Huh.
myself, go to bed by 9 p.m., drink plenty of water, like all those things. Those came secondary to me, just like
Not
being with the
necessary.
boys.
Yeah.
So
I do want to say as well, a lot of times, and especially at the hotel I was at, there were so many people in the lobby. They had a big lobby area, like an upstairs and a downstairs lobby area, where you're seeing people play card games, trade, come up to you, get selfies. And I think Doa was even at my hotel, and so I saw him a few times there. And so
Yeah, it's kind of nice that you can get to like mingle with everyone around the hotel and everything.
Yeah,
I think
exactly,
that's
yeah.
super dope. And like honestly, you know what would be really cool for me personally is that
Ooh.
I have like we have here in Virginia like a bunch of convention centers and stuff like that, and it crossed my mind like what if an event was ever held here, you know, would I want to get a hotel close by, even if it's like a 30-minute, like 45-minute drive, or would I just like stay at home? And I'm like, I kind of want to stay at home, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, you kind of do miss out on that intermingling, like in the hotels and like near the convention center. Like, hey, do you want to go and get this? You want to go out and do that? And I'm like, man, I still got to drive like 30, 45 minutes, you know? So it was like a thing that kind of like hit me with a toss up, you know, of what I'd prefer to do. But, you know, living close is great. So.
Experience wise, just be with your friends. But if you're trying to min max your experiences, okay, you go to KekFilA, you hit subscribe, and then you see what you want to do when you go out. So
absolutely. What was that at the very end? It was smash that like button, hit that subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.
Hit that like button.
Oh yeah,
smash that subscribe
yep,
button.
swap
No,
it.
I had people saying smash that like button, or no, smash that. No, like that subscribe. It was bad. It was. It was great. It was
yeah, the montage of that.
I literally had to read it as a script. I was like, wait, what's happening? I literally had to read off my computer screen.
Yeah. Well, at the very end, we'll make sure I say it so you guys can use it for your outros. But
oh yeah.
We did a lot of intermingling, a lot of beautiful things this morning. Should we jump into One Piece?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, so as far as like what we were just talking about, like how much, you know, fun it was to like get and intermingle with friends and stuff at nationals. You know, one of the topics we wanted to talk about today was kind of the failure of nationals as a whole. It was really what? No, yeah, it was really well done from like a go in and get to check out like a lot of, you know, the beautiful displays that they had. You know, as far as being able to test out some of the up-and-coming card games that they have for 2024. However, it was really disappointing from like a main event standpoint, as well as a lot of the side events. I mean, I have so many notes here that we took over, you know, the course of the 2 days that we were out at the event. And I would love to know, because me personally, unfortunately, I was a spectator at the event, so I didn't get to experience all of the calamities that you guys did early in the morning and into the afternoon before even round one started. So, like, what were some things that you guys went through being on the player side it was just like, yeah, I heard so many things.
Go ahead, Sage.
Yeah, let me start because I had a 2-round bye.
Yeah.
So there was an experience before that. I'm sure everyone already knows if you had a 2-round bye, you had to like jump into another line immediately as we entered this. They didn't even announce it beforehand. They just said, if you see yourself on the app checked in and you do have a 2-round bye, raise your hand. And then like 500 people raise their hand, and you know, you see Ben going, "Oh my god!" Like I literally heard him say that, and so we all had to like jump in a line, get our name on a list to get off of a list, and then wait for a long time. And I showed up earlier that morning to then go back to my hotel to show back up at 9, and then to wait there, which I should have just left immediately and just waited at my hotel, which is another good reason to get a hotel really close by, right?
Go back to bed.
Lay down. Yeah, or like use the restroom, you know, because everyone knows the restroom at some of these places that aren't not going to be great sometimes. So, so that was like the first morning experience. So I had to wait until really 2:30 p.m. So I'll actually let FTC take over from here because he actually had a round 1, round 2. What was round 1, round 2 like? Was there any confusion? How long did it take for actually round 1 to?
Yeah, I mean, it was. We were nearing 3 hours before we touched round 1. For the reasons that you just stated, the fact that they entered in everyone that had the 2-round bye into the tournament with everyone else that started round 1, that just kind of snowballed the rest of the event. But before we even got there, there was an issue taking place where if you were looking at the Bandai app, or I'm sorry, was it?
BCP.
Yeah, BCP.
Oh, that's what it was. So I was looking at that to make sure, like, hey, I'm ready, like everything's good to go. But then when I would hit my profile, it said no deck list submitted or no deck list received, and I'm like, I know for sure, and me and a couple other friends were having this issue. So like I'm already starting to get concerned because it
Yeah.
says no deck list. I'm like, I know we all submitted our deck list. We're good. We should be good to go. So like before we even got into all the shenanigans that you just mentioned, Sage, there was a lot of confusion as to like, hey, am I good to go? Like
Yeah.
well, I submitted my deck list. Like I know I did this, and so
Yeah.
before we even got to that point, we had to go to the info booth and speak to someone, and it wasn't like any correction was made or like they were like, okay, cool. Now it was just like, you're fine. And I'm like, like I believe you, but that's not all that reassuring, It's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
don't worry about it, kind of thing. And I'm like, like I'm gonna believe you, and I trust that it's fine. But like when I see no deck list and you're just saying no sweat, I'm just like,
Mhm.
doesn't feel great.
I have a feeling because of how messed up everything was, they did not do a single deck check on the first day, and they decided whoever hits top 64, then they'll deck check those top
Sure.
64 players.
Yeah.
But that's there to deck check on the first day is there to check catch cheaters for switching cards in between rounds, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So in events like this, someone who's malicious could take advantage of that, right? But obviously, you're just more concerned. I think, all fundamentally, this event failed on many levels because of no communication, right? I think everyone, if they were just like a Twitter or BCP Twitter, and someone just tweeted on there, this question was just asked, and they just answer it right there, right?
Yeah.
Like exactly the one you had, and then leave it at that. It's more like a frequently asked questions area.
Yeah.
So
That would
if
have
there
been a
was-
tremendous help.
yeah, it'd have been good because then it would stop them. Because I'm sure you're not the only like 3 people that had that same issue. I'm
Oh, yeah,
sure
yeah.
like literally 500 people probably had like the
Right.
same issue or about the deck
Well,
list. So
Yeah.
So like once that was kind of like, yeah, you're good to go. Then we sat down, and then it's coming up on 9:30, and like to your point, there's no communication. There's like, hey, it's 9:30. Like this is when we're supposed to be playing our first round. There's no pairings. There's nothing like what's going on. And then I don't think it was closer until like 10 or slightly after 10 that they finally like made the announcement towards like, hey, this is the situation. We've got to in essence repair the entire bracket. And then it was literally just a waiting game for someone who was exhausted as I was going into it. I could have used every ounce of sleep, and so I'm sitting there thinking at the table like, damn, what I would have given to get, like have these extra 3 hours of sleep, because
Yeah.
we had to arrive early. We had like the combination of all, and I know there's no like predicting that, but the fact that it was kind of botched to where we didn't start the tournament until what was it, like 12:30 almost, like
Yeah.
like 12ish.
I want to
just
say
like
it
all
was.
wasting
Yeah.
your time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I felt, like to your point too, it's like for the first rounders it was tough, but then for people who had 2-round buys, that's like,
You're
man, y'all
sitting
are just
around
sitting there cold
forever.
for forever waiting to play,
Mhm.
and there's not like there's much for. What are you gonna do for 6 hours waiting for a game? Like like.
Yeah. The
You could,
lines
I guess, you
were
could kind of play some games, but then some people don't necessarily like to do that because I'm gonna be playing games the rest of the friggin' day. So it like that delay was just unfortunately set the tone, I think, for the rest of the day. And so like when some of these other issues that we'll discuss came up, people were just kind of like, get it together. Like I'm like. It's one thing to have like a mess up here and there, especially it's your first Nats, and so I think all of us as players and as spectators will allow a certain level of grace when it comes to like making error. Like, hey, we get it,
Yeah.
but there are fundamental flaws that where it's just like, how do we not have this together? And then when it's compounded by the issues that we had later in the tournament, I think it just I mean, like, again, it just snowballed, and the snowball just kept getting bigger and bigger.
You
and
know what?
bigger.
It's speaking of the snowball. It's as far as like the communication aspect. So this was a major reason why a lot of everything else in the event space really became a struggle because of the delay in starting the main event. So as far as signups were concerned for side events, I'm not even kidding when I say this. A friend and I were walking by one of the booths near where they had like the I'm trying to remember the name of it, but the Union Arena displays and everything, right? So as we're walking by, I'm not even kidding. I just see some random guy no, a random crowd just kind of forming around this one guy. And I'm like, what's going on over here? And it's like, it piques my interest. I take a look over. This guy's getting scotch tape and putting scotch tape on a piece of paper that has a QR code on a wall. And I'm like, what is that? And then somebody turns around and says to me, oh, it's the side events. And I'm like, there's QR codes on the wall for side events? And so I'm like taking my phone out.
Held together by scotch tape.
Yeah, held together by scotch tape. And there's like 40, 50 people like surrounding it. I'm trying to sign up, right? I'm like getting my phone out. I'm like, oh my God, let me get in, blah, blah, blah. I get signed up for an event, and it's like a 32 player event. I was like, oh, okay, perfect. Single elimination, 32 player. Shout out to my man. Wait, what? No, I'm not sure if it was EV. It might have been EV Collectibles, but somebody signed up for all 6 events, right? And they're all within like 30 minutes of one another. And I was like, well, you can't compete in all of them. And he's like, yeah,
Right.
well, I can at least participate in the ones that I can. But then, then it was just like, wait a minute, now nobody else can sign up for some of these, and it was like, it was a shit show, for the lack of a better word. Like, and so these events were supposed to be scheduled for 2:30, 3 o'clock. And right, we're going around, we're doing our thing. We show up for the event on time. An hour and a half goes by, and they finally started because they had no judges. They expected to have the judges from the main event pulled over to the side events by that time. So they had to have active judges from the main event come over to the side event, and it was one person running 2 events, and there was like, I think 6, if I'm not mistaken, altogether. So they had 3 judges total for 6 events, and most people didn't show up because when they showed up on time, it didn't happen. So they left, thinking that it wouldn't happen, and it was a whole thing. And
oh my God,
yeah,
what a nightmare.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. Like I put on here in the notes that there were actually 10 people that showed up for our 32 player event, and I was like, wow, okay, that's crazy. Yeah. So
It's a complete waste of time and space
cost
and
money
resources.
to get to the side event?
No. It was free.
Oh,
yeah.
Which actually is a great talking point with the no money thing. And,
Yeah.
So this is something that, and like I saw the number floated out there that, as we all know, registration for Nats was completely free, right? You could, if you got in, it was completely free, which I think, like on the surface, it sounds very commendable. And so, like, I want to say, like, I think it's really cool that Bandai wanted to make this like, hey, if you show up and you're able to register, it's on us. We got you, Yeah. And I think that's a very commendable, inviting, enticing way to just kind of like have a nice gesture to your players, right? And just be like, hey, we got you, right? Granted, your expenses are going to be travel, board, like, so,
Right.
it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it felt like it was actually slightly more of a detriment than it was like than anything else. And I think I saw a number where it was like 500 plus that were registered did not show for the event.
Oh, really?
And yeah, just an insane number. And this, I mean, because here's the thing: what obligation? Like, so if I'm like, I'm in Texas, you're on the East Coast. There was people that in New York, like. If I don't have a financial obligation tied to this event, like, what does it matter if I don't show up? Like,
right.
What, like, it's not that big of a deal, And I think there's reason why people should be like, I don't mind paying. Me personally, if I didn't have to experience what I experienced and it cost me $25, $50, like the Pokemon regionals that I go to are $70. Granted, you get the playmat, you get a playmat for attending the regional, and like it's not cheap, like $70 is a lot of money, but like it makes you feel obligated to an extent to like, I've got to be there. I've spent $70, which is a good chunk of money. I'm not saying Nats needs to be $70 because it's a good chunk of money. $25, $40, like. Let me give y'all money to like spend that resource on making this tournament just a lot smoother of an experience.
I think it's twofold actually. Sorry to interrupt you there, but
no,
essentially, there should be an incentive for the TOs. There probably already is an incentive. Bandai's probably paying the TOs to make sure it's ran properly. But now there's like a financial incentive where people will be like, "Oh, well, I want my money back," right? If it is not ran properly, and so they can definitely get their money back as if that's the issue. But since it's free, now they're not obligated to do such a good job when it comes to side events. I think side events are a huge deal.
I agree, but like the way I see that, I see that more as a cop out. That's just more of a cop out for Bandai to say, you know what, it was free. Like, just enjoy it. You know what I mean? And so, like, I feel like there needs to be a level of accountability on both ends, on both the player and Bandai. It's like, as a player, I'm gonna show up. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be there when I say I'm there, and it's not gonna screw someone over who wasn't able to sign up that could have been there. And then on Bandai's end of it, it's like, all right, we've taken your money, and now we feel like we have more responsibility to come through and deliver for you. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, the sentiment is not lost on me. I love the fact that it was free. Like there's no complaints from me about, in terms of like, I didn't have to pay a penny to register for this, because I think that's awesome. But if it means, if you're going to give me the option of me paying Bandai $25-$40 and have a much better experience than what I had this last year, or it be free and it kind of more or less goes the way that it did, dude, I will pay you. I will gladly pay you to have a better experience than what I had this last, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Like, agreed. Please, like, we can both be mature about this. I'll hold up my end. I'll show up. You hold up your end and run a smooth tournament, and everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Well, if they could save you 4 hours of time, a waste of time, then that's worth definitely easily $40+ Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that, as far as, like you said, with it, potentially putting a price point on there, is that you had to, as the players, buy the playmat. Right? Mm-hmm. So like that kind of was the quote unquote like price entry. If you think about it, they just did it in like a weird roundabout way. But it was, I think what they could have done is exactly like you said, like just have a payment to where you get the playmat included in the sign up, you get the promo cards, all of that good stuff, and then you're good to go. However, we're saying it's commendable of trying to make it free, but it just stops so many things. Like, so I'm not entirely sure if this is the exact number. It was a number that was floating around. I can't speak to the validity of this number exactly, but somebody did say that the event, or the the space that was used, the convention center, was going to charge $50,000 for the internet fees for them to be able to live stream the event.
Right.
That could be easily paid. You had thousands of people attending.
Yeah. Yes.
If you charge, think about it this way: if you had 6,000 people attending, you charge $10. It's paid, done, right?
You're good.
Good. You're good to go. Right.
I think that's a different issue, though. The not being live streamed. That's a separate issue, which we can jump into. Whatever you want to, but like the fact that it costs, I've heard something like $17,000 because
I'm not sure of the
like
exact number.
Yeah. And then that's why they were so on schedule for the 6 p.m. live stream on day 2.
Yeah.
That they had to meet that deadline.
Yeah.
And they went so far out of the way to make sure that finals was at 6 p.m. No problem at all, because they only had internet from that time to that time.
Yeah.
They probably spent, a lot of money on just paying for that too.
Yeah, just that time slot on the second day definitely was something. Well, but I just think that as a whole, like when you have like for example, they had the national championships of in Europe, as well as actually I don't think Latin America was live streamed, but Europe was live streamed. The Asia championships were live streamed. And I think that, when you set that precedent, it's like, oh, we expect to see every single, national championship seeing some form of live stream, because one, it's good for attracting players to the game. It is good for the players themselves in the game. It is just all around a great production. It gets everybody excited, involved. Content comes out of it. There's just nothing but really good things that happen from having a live event. And I think that was just like something that maybe that mark could have not been missed had there been some form of cost. But, you know, at the end of the day, I do think that we're talking about a multi-million-dollar company. So I think that a billion-dollar company, you know, so that it's, you know, a little chump change.
Well, the thing is like, and so I heard people like using that number as like a way to like remove Bondi as like the reason why. It's like, oh, well, they're charging way too much. And it's like the onus still falls on Bondi to have that logistic ironed out before we sign the contract, right? It's
Right.
like, look, if I'm gonna host this event that has, like you said, EU fully streamed, like Asia streamed, like,
Yeah.
and so like, you know, like there's no reason for NA to not have that same access. Like it blows my mind. Like the stream honestly might have been the biggest misfire of the entire tournament. The fact that it wasn't streamed. If I'm being honest, like that might have been the thing that was the most detriment to the card game and to Bandai in general, because for all the reasons that you just listed, Ian, it like I don't think that can be emphasized, like how much that actually compounds. Because as content creators and as players, and we spoke with Jackson about this, and I've spoke with other you know, top players, it's like, you know, how much does that really bother you that you don't, you know, you're not getting a brand kind of put it out there with your face and your name, and people aren't seeing you on the stream constantly. And it's like, yeah, that's like, it hurts. And I'm like, I was expecting a lot of people to be like, you know, it sucks, but no big deal. But like a lot of them were like, that actually really sucks. And I'm like, damn, okay. So like, what I mean by this, like compounding, is that Bandai needs to, and I'm sure they do realize this, that their content creators and their players, and even like the players that are content creators especially, they are your marketing. This is the marketing for your TCG. This is how your TCG becomes more and more popular and grows. You know, content creators are like, in essence, free marketing. You're getting free marketing from content creators, and the fact that we weren't set up with the logistics to succeed with this is like, it is such a hindrance. And you know, you could argue the fact that maybe One Piece doesn't need that type of exposure right now because of how insanely popular it is. But it like at that point, it's like, well, like, does, like, how much of an argument is that really? It's like, oh, we can't really sustain that. It's like, that could be an issue altogether on the side. But it's like that, not having the exposure for One Piece TCG, especially when held up against Asia and EU, like it just felt so, that was just such a hard pill to swallow, man.
I do want to quote somebody from this, right? And it seems pretty simple. I'm gonna simplify this a little bit. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he was on a podcast, and he says, Joe Rogan, it's just money, man. It's just money. That's the problem. It's just about money. That's what this is about, right? And so the fact that it was an LA compared to, you know, some, I don't know where it was in EU or in Asia, right?
Yeah.
The fact that it was in the middle of LA is reason why I didn't have a live stream, because it cost too much money.
Yeah.
There was that decision. So if it was at a different location, a different state,
they chose the most
city,
expensive spot.
They chose the worst place I've ever experienced of a city where people are just, there's a ton of homeless outside, people yelling hot dog at me all day.
Hot dog.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
Hey,
like
don't knock
those hot dogs were good.
And I bet you
they were good.
I bet you. I mean, they're pretty good, but I don't like their attitude. Okay, their hot dog attitude. So,
hey man, they trying to make a buck out there.
My Venmo's below.
My boy's slinging hot dogs. So yeah, if it was like in Pasadena, which is over there, I'm assuming it's LA because they've done LAX at there many times. And why? I think
it's LA because I think it's LA because Bandai Japan can make that commute much easier.
Oh, true.
And we saw a lot of Bandai Japan there, and I think, you know, LA Japan is like, that's just the connection from the eastern to the western, right? Is LA to Japan for a lot of people. And
they go right to LA, and then they go to another city in LA. Like Pasadena is only less than an hour, definitely less than an hour away.
Yeah, or like Hawaii,
other convention center. Because
Hawaii.
If you've never been to Pasadena before, it's literally like maybe 20 minutes away from there, and they've had 3 regionals there already at Pasadena Convention Center, and it's great. There's a big space. They can even open up more spaces, right? It is big enough for all of that. It's just It's just maybe not as glorious as LAX as maybe it's not as modern as what I would maybe call it.
Right.
Right.
Well,
But yeah.
I think location is a good point too, because we had a lot of people, Ian included, Jackson from NYC. Like that trip from East Coast to LA is not an easy trip. I mean,
long.
that is a full day of travel. That is a 3-hour time change. Like there's a lot of factors. Like
It
that
sucked.
East Coast to West Coast. Like me being in Texas, I'm like, yeah, it's a little bit, but it's not too bad. But like Ian had like layovers
Bruh.
and like the 3-hour time the 3-hour time difference. When you're trying to compete in a tournament like that, that is rough.
On
man.
1
So,
hour of sleep too, dude.
yeah, exactly. Like people, like people aren't sleeping well. Like it is. It's just I'm like I can't imagine having to
I was
Jackson
just
doing what he
excited.
did. The fact that he's from
If
NYC
you
is
guys
kind
were
of
to
like
choose a city for the next nationals, your choice to make sense financially
Dallas,
in every
baby. Dallas,
retrospect.
all
Dallas.
100% Dallas.
I could. Dallas is nice.
I disagree.
I would personally
Las
say
Vegas.
Florida.
Las
Vegas?
Vegas.
Oh.
It is the cheapest place to travel to because of their gambling things. They actually keep it cheaper. If most of the time, if you tried to fly somewhere, fly to Vegas and then fly from there. That is a fact. And I've definitely had trips like that where I've had to fly to Vegas, then fly to LA because it was cheaper.
I think logistically, Las Vegas does sound nice. I just don't trust I've been to Vegas 3 times.
Oh, you don't? Yeah.
I don't. I've
you have no
put Vegas in my
self-control?
rear view. I'm an old man with a wife and a kid.
I'd be hitting some
I
blackjack.
don't trust myself out in Vegas
Yeah.
anymore.
You
I'm like, brother,
don't
keep
have
that
to do
temptation.
blackjack or
No, you do.
No.
I mean,
You do.
realistically though, the money we're playing with at nationals is so much more,
That's true.
than that. Like people are slinging, hundreds of thousands of dollars for just a couple of cards, or where people are playing. Imagine you're a top 32 and you're playing against somebody, and whoever wins this wins a $30,000 trophy. Okay,
Ooh.
that they can sell to someone else. They can put on their wallet on a con sheet, right? So what's the difference of putting $20 in a slot machine and just losing that? Right. What's that's actually just small stakes when we're talking about it. Right. So it's just
Yeah. The funny thing is that as far as like expenses are concerned for Vegas, I mean, I've only ever been to Vegas once, so I can't really speak to like a vast knowledge of going to Vegas. However, I went to Vegas once. It cost this was for my fiance's 30th birthday, and it cost $450 for my ticket and $450 for her ticket. So it was $900 total just to get out there. I am shocked to say that it was actually cheaper for me to fly to LA. It cost me $220 to fly to LA.
When you live on the East Coast, I guess your whole life just it has to revolve around going to the West Side.
It's like those big events on the West Coast, it's great and all, but it is a bit of a shame that I almost feel as though like so I'm a big Twitch person. I've been streaming on Twitch for 8 years, and every TwitchCon over the last 8 years has been on the West Coast. It's honestly like insulting to a degree, because I'm like, wow, this company literally does not think that they have like global fans and not even just global, just in their own nation on the other side of the nation. Like it hurt, because like you start to see that they're doing TwitchCons in Germany, they're doing TwitchCons in like all Canada and like all kinds of different places, and you're like, dude, where is ours? On the East Coast.
I do want to say most of these companies are all just in California.
Yeah, they're
right?
just based there.
You know that,
yeah.
Which is bullshit.
Yep.
But have you ever played? Side tangent. Have you ever played League of Legends?
I have, but I'm more of a Dota person. Okay, sorry.
That's fine.
Yeah.
There was a time in League of Legends when North America, the server for North America was somewhere in California.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were on the East Coast, your ping was so messed up, you might as well be playing from Korea.
Nice.
Okay. So, but here's the thing. Here's the awesome thing. If you played in Latin America server, it was like in Florida. So you were actually had really good ping if you were on the East Coast playing on the Latin America servers.
Oh, true.
Until one day they said, you know what, we're gonna put the server in Chicago, so it's in the middle, and so everyone suffers this equally. And then people in California were pissed off, right? So a lot
Yeah.
of the pro players, like that actually kind of drove the game down quite a bit. Is actually negative. So by making so everyone suffers equally, it actually ends up being a negative. So they just kind of choose that East Coast has to suffer most, you know,
Yeah.
which sucks. I agree with you. And I hope maybe we should have a nationals on webcam, you know? No one ever brings up that idea.
No,
I know you guys are saying that, but we're all just playing a card game. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, Nationals on a sim, right? I don't know. Nationals on a webcam, right? It's wild, right? So
yeah. I mean,
cheating that.
Yeah, it's just like you said, like the idea of like, so online events you can like cheat a lot easier, like a lot more and whatnot.
Easier.
Like your meme used to say, the gum jet pistol, good times.
Gum webcam.
Oh yeah, gum webcam with the jet pistol, dude.
I do want to say though, in anything like that, I'm sure every single player will have the game recorded. If they lose the game,
100%. Yeah.
Fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
Find out there's no way without a reasonable doubt thinking my opponent cheated.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
There has to be a standard of procedure, super communicative. If that's the case, I'm saying that may not be the future, but that's definitely the cheapest nationals that would be done, and it might be kind of nice.
Yeah. But I mean, realistically, I don't hate the idea that the Nationals is on the West Coast. I don't hate it. It doesn't bother me that much. It is a long travel, but hey, you know what? If you're gonna host it, you know, at least, I guess what I care about at the end of the day is that if we are making this travel all the way out from the East Coast, then let's make it so that, you know, the people that are attending it have a good time, and that there aren't as many issues and stuff running through it. And I think that was like a priority that was unfortunately missed. And a lot of it came down to communication. I mean, there was plenty of times where I was asking, employees like around the area, like staff members and whatnot. And I don't, by the way, every staff member that I came across, fantastic, very kind, tried to be as helpful as possible, you know. But there was just moments where you were like, hey, do you know, can you point me in the direction of the side event area or something like that? Like, I don't think any of them were given like a layout, a map, or anything of like how they set up the event. Because I finding the side events was like a journey of its own. And then when I got there, I had to wait for so long, like we spoke about before. But it, you know, just being able to find out what line was for what, that was another big issue that they seemed to remedy on day 2. But day 1, it was a really, really bad time for a lot of the people that came in as spectators, or maybe some of the main event players that dropped and wanted to go and check out some of the other stuff. The line situation was like so unorganized. Like, you had lines weaving in and out of one another to do like play test area for the Union Arena, Dragon Ball Super, One Piece, stuff like that, right? You had the line for getting into side events that was also right next to the line that was for the retail. So if you wanted to go and pick up boxes, packs, whatnot, or like a box, excuse me, or packs, then you were right beside this other line, and it was very confusing. And then there was this front line, you know, that looked like, oh, I could just walk up and step right behind it. And some guy was telling me, he was like, no, dude, the line's all the way back there. And this isn't a staff employee. This is just a guy in the line. And I was like, okay, was there like anybody staff that can direct me? Like, where do I go? What do I do? I do think that there was just a really unfortunate mismanagement of, you know, where some staff could have been in a lot of those situations.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of this, and like it kind of is coming back to the same spot, is like a lot of this stuff, like I said, like we can accept certain things, it being the first nationals, like there's bound to be things that are going to happen, that are going to come up, that are going to cause delays, or just, you know, like overall some disorganization that takes place. But the way that you help alleviate that is through communication. The way that you help kind of like let people know that we care enough about what's going on is through communicating, right? And through staff, through the players, like, and I think that's really the thing that frustrated a tremendous amount of people, including myself, was, and even the players. Like when we were talking with Jackson last week, like as a player, he had no clue how many rounds, like how many rounds am I playing today?
Yeah.
What is tomorrow looking like?
What
and
is
like,
Top Cut? Yeah.
What is top cut? Like these are like fundamental things that like players have to know the answers to.
Yeah.
And when the lack of communication extends to, I won't call them employees, but staff that are helping you coordinate this event to make sure it runs as smoothly as possible with the least amount of hiccups. When those people aren't informed, like the frustration of players can be taken out on these staff people, which are completely undeserving
Yeah.
of that. Like, and again, like to reiterate Ian's, like I didn't meet a single staff person that wasn't doing the best damn job that they could, that wasn't still handling the situation with grace, and like that trying to be as patient as possible. So like I think that's where a tremendous amount of frustration lies, is like, can we just, like, even if things aren't going well, can you please just communicate with everyone, your staff, your players, your spectators? Can you just find a way to communicate with us what is taking place so decisions can be made based on the communication that you're giving us? And I think that that is like a basic 101, right? That feels like that should just be like the minimum. And I feel like that the fact that didn't feel like that was being accomplished was just a tremendous source of frustration for so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I-
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, you know, as far as you know, what we've been talking about, like some of the issues that we had while we were there at the Los Angeles National event. You know, we've talked about a lot of, you know, some of the things that went wrong, and hinted at what could be done better. But I think that that's actually really like the main point that we should try to get to, is that what can be done better for next time? Like, what are some ideas? And I already thought of like a couple that I think would be, you know, fantastic. Was it? Do you remember when you walk in, there was that massive gear or a 10-drop Gear 5 Luffy, right? So cool. Loved that. I was like, dude, wow, that is awesome, right? Imagine something of like even smaller size but close to, right at the front, that gives you a whole like it's got the whole layout. It's got the map, the layout, everything right there. You just
Like
go,
what you find at the mall.
yes, it's a directory.
Yeah.
You find a directory right at the very beginning. You walk in, you go, oh, retail, boom. Oh, testing, boom. Oh, lines for boom, boom, bam. Oh, okay, cool. Scavenger hunt, here, right? You have main event, Battle Spirit Saga, Digimon, side events.
I'm writing this down. I'm writing.
Yeah, all of this. I think it's just a great idea to have a directory where it explains to people like, hey, this is, you know, where you go. Like, obviously, we're going to walk around the event and everything, but I don't want to be like a chicken with my head cut off, and I want to have like some sense of direction. I have priorities as somebody that traveled, you know, across the entire nation. I have priorities that I want to get done. I want to see certain things. I want to go and try different things. Like if I had known where the playtesting area was at first, I wanted so bad to get a demo deck of Union Arena, not even really to play the game, just I just wanted to I wanted to get the cards because I thought the first set were having like Bleach, Jujutsu Kaisen, and what was the other one? Hunter x Hunter. Yeah, I was like, dude, I want those cards. That looks so sick. And I didn't get to, because by the time that I figured out where the demo list was and I got into line, they were all out. And I was like, man, that's a huge bummer. That was like one thing I was super excited for about the trip, was to, you know, get my hands on some of those cards, because my fiance and I love those anime and we love the manga. So it's a little disappointing.
I do have an idea as well for future events. I do want to say most events aren't going to have these big lines where you do awesome things, but events that do, and I want to actually take a little note from Bushy Road, okay? So I've done Bushy Road events before, another card game. That you know, it's kind of like equivalent to Bondi in a way, right? Essentially, what I would suggest to counteract anything with lines, number one, if you're there early, they do a lottery system, so they put people in different lines, right? And then they give you a thing. Okay, everyone, and now they did roll a die, basically a random number generator, and go, okay, this line gets to the very front, this. So now everyone's who got there early gets there in place, and it was actually more of a chance thing rather than getting there even earlier the night before, right? Because you can't have people showing up there like at 3 a.m, right? As long as you were here before a certain time. And then the second thing here is actually, you know, like when you go to a DMV and you get like a ticket that says 1B or whatever, right? You get that ticket, they give you that ticket, and then you can go fuck off.
Yeah.
Do your own thing at the whole. You can enjoy the event,
Yep.
and then when you see on that screen 1B,
Yep.
oh, I'm gonna go buy my product, and that's exactly. I think what should be done for it can be done for every single like line that exists. They have like a little system. They hand that out, and let's say you missed your chance, like you were 1B. Well, now they're at like 1J, whatever. You missed it like forever ago. Well, oh, you should have done it before, so you just jump in and go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like and then that was a simple way to go there, buy product, and still enjoy the event because waiting in a line is terrible for an event.
Do you know what they have to their advantage as well as far as that idea? Because I think that's a great idea, right? You know what they have to their advantage is that if they put maybe a little bit of time into making the Bandai TCG Plus app a little bit better, they have an app that can quite literally do all of these things with very simple programming. You go, oh, hey, I walk up and I go, hey, here's a little QR code. And they go, okay, perfect, scanned. Now you'll get a notification on your phone when we're ready to take you.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thing is, they can also do that. When you go to a restaurant and you just like get a reservation and then they text you when it's ready. The exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, we're Red Lobstering it, right? So.
And unironically, Bandai app is probably the worst app I've ever downloaded on my phone. Like, it is.
That's just ironic,
I mean, well, that's what I mean. It's like, yeah, let's make an app that like handles all these features, and the app in reference is quite literally like the worst app I've ever seen in my life.
So the ratings are terrible.
I will say this. When I first downloaded the app, I actually thought it was the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire life. However, the more that I've gotten used to it with local stores using it for signups for events and stuff like that, it's not as bad as I thought. It's just poorly designed. It's super poorly designed.
With how intuitive apps are these days.
Yeah.
Like with like 1.3 out of 5. There you go. With how intuitive technology is to these, like the whole idea behind technology is to like. Right. I mean, like, but see, that's the joke. That's the joke. Like, you want to have an app that does these things, brother. Here's your 1.3 star app. Have fun. Have fun with that. But the whole point of technology these days is revolves around like intuitive things, right? Like when you get on an iPad or your iPhone, like it being intuitive is like how people gear their tech, right? It's like it should be very easy, very streamlined to where 90-year-old Gmaw can hop on and be able to like do these things, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that you have to say, after I've been on it for like a year, like I can kind of figure out a way to navigate this type of thing. It's like that's not gonna cut it. It's just not gonna cut it.
No, I agree.
But I think the idea is a great idea. I think like consolidating all these things that we're discussing that can be more or less done within an app is the correct way to go about it. Like it just feels like that's the proper way. Now we just need an app that functions properly, that makes it extremely easy to like accomplish those things. Because as it stands, we're just not there.
I know where you were about to go with that, Kek.
Yeah, what was about to go?
I correct me if I'm wrong, because you went ooh and I was like ooh. So BCP. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we had nothing but problems with BCP at nationals.
In the past?
No, in nationals.
But we've also had problems in the past with.
Oh
BCP,
yeah, even at
right?
regionals and treasure cups.
Yeah, but the thing is, even regardless outside of that, like there could have been some sort of pre-testing done. Basically, it seems like nobody, or maybe somebody who felt responsible, right, was supposed to test out, hey, how would this work? And then I mean, this is simple, right?
Yeah, simple stress test.
What could go wrong, and how can we mess this up? Ask those questions first, and then troubleshoot from there before an event, so we don't waste, when you waste one person's hour of time, that sucks. But when you waste 2,500 people's 3 hours of time, that's like
pretty bad.
It starts to add up a lot of time, right? So
now, like I'm gonna be like the hyper dramatic person about this, because I mentioned this to Ian, and this was like the day of, and we were kind of reflecting on the day, and it's like I took time away. Not everyone's situation is the same. So like, yeah, this can't be like generalized. But I left my family. I left my wife and my son for, in essence, 4 days. I flew out. I missed time away from them. I paid money for my flight. I paid money for my board. I paid money for my food. Um, and that was the experience that I got. Now I love One Piece. I love the community. I love playing the game. I love all those things. But I'll tell you that day, if you had asked me if I was willing to come back out and do this whole thing again, it was like a firm no for me. Like you're not gonna get me
Agreed.
to like come out and experience this again. I'm not leaving my family. I'm not paying for the flight. I'm just not gonna do it. And so like for people that were extremely like new to this game that managed to get in and you know maybe they're kind of like this experience can drive, if you have a bad experience, it can drive people away from this. And
Yeah.
like that's like, you know, like people like Ian and myself and you, Sage, it's like we love this game. Like this is
We'll
like,
be here.
like we're passionate about it. Like, you know what, you kicked my ass, Bandai, but damn it, like
I'm still
I
here.
still love you. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
but it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be this
You're right.
this
It affects
situation where
everything.
it's like, bro, like the more casual people were hurt by this. Where it's like you know, this could be the straw that kind of broke the back for a lot of people. Like, imagine if you're someone that was trying to get into regionals all the time and you weren't able to make the cut, but you somehow made it to nationals.
Ooh, yeah.
And you got registered and you put the time, the money, the
Yeah.
effort, and you're like, this is my Bandai TCG, this is my tournament experience. And then you show up and that was your experience. I would be like, screw this. I'm like,
Well, the
I'm
thing
done.
is,
I'm
it
done,
gets
bro.
worse. It keeps getting worse. The more we do this story, then let's say they go 8 wins and 2 losses. Okay,
Mhm.
in this tournament that's supposed to be 11 rounds. If you're X2, you're in the top 64, right?
Yeah.
You're 8 wins, 2 losses. They say, oh, there's going to be 11 rounds that day. I go to the 11th round and they say, okay, tournament's over, guys. And
That
then
is
100 people,
brutal.
including
That is
me,
brutal.
who are trying to, you know, make a name for have a good time. Actually, just have a good time. I wanted to play in Top Cut because that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
You know, but then I didn't even get a chance to play in Top Cut where some other X2s did. I had 2 friends that were both X2 that made Top Cut. Shout out to them. But you know, the part of the 100 people from 64th place to 149th place were X2 did not get in. If they
Oh
win
my
the next game,
God,
they're
dude.
in it. You know, that's triple pricing at least.
Yeah.
And that is terrible, right? And that's and my 2 losses, well, just like, well, you should have played against better players, SMH. Like, you know, it's
Yeah.
just,
that is such an injustice to remove
yeah.
the ability for a player to the onus is on them. You know, like, hey, if
Yeah.
you win this round, you're in. Like that, it is your responsibility to win this game.
I
and
would
if
have
you
rather
win it,
played and
you are
lost.
in. And the fact that they took that away from you, the fact that they took that opportunity away from you, like, dude, that it blows my mind. It truly does. Like, again, I might be being too dramatic, but if I'm that person that's in that situation and Bandai says, I'm not even going to give you the opportunity to like to perform well and make the cut, like that opportunity has been scrapped, man, I would just like that hurts so
Every
bad,
single
man.
person from 64 to 149th was absolutely mad, but all 2,000 players that played in the tournament were just disappointed, right?
Yeah, but
so,
I can't imagine like my day went terrible, so I just ended up just like I'm done, like I'm over it, and I just kind of got out of it. I can't imagine being the person that actually like endured through that whole tournament.
Yeah, you were
went through
there.
The delay.
there
like,
was a guy.
fought the fight, and then Bandai says yoink, like just pulls the rug from underneath you after that whole day. At the end of the day, they just say, you thought, you know, and
There
it's
was
just
a-
like, dude, I would be beside myself. I'd be
There was a
beside
guy,
myself.
he was 8-0. Okay. He lost round 9. He lost round 10. So he's X and 2. He got 65th. That guy got 65th. So like, and this guy, he's gonna probably watch this video because he's on people's comments. That was me, you know. So shout out to that guy. You know, he probably would have rather played his last game and lost, right, than to see what happened. right? That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying
Yeah,
too.
well,
That's
that's the whole
brutal.
point. It's like give me the chance,
Yeah.
give
I
me
want the
the
chance to lose.
opportunity. Whether I win or whether I win or lose, it was on me. That it was
Yeah.
on me. But the fact that Bandai just said, you know
Yeah.
what, you know,
I
I
do
was
want
gonna
to say
use
too.
a little sound bit from Ian's stream, but it's not particularly appropriate.
Oh yeah.
GFN.
Yeah.
What
Yep.
the
It's
fuck, Richard?
oh
What the fuck, Richard?
oh there we go. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
do want to say with that
Jesus
too.
Christ.
I think I lost my train of thought after that.
Oh,
Actually,
you're good.
So we're going with that too. I think they should take a page from Pokemon. I think all people would love this kind of tournament format. It doesn't matter if you're X and 2. As long as you are X and 2, you make day 2, right?
Oh,
Like yeah.
I actually didn't know
does-
Pokemon does that. Yeah.
Apparently,
And so,
Pokemon does that.
I didn't. I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
No.
Maybe Magic.
I've never
Magic's
executed
done
at a
that.
Pokemon regionals, so I'm not sure. But I will say this also: Pokemon, the one I went to in San Antonio, I want to say it was like 6 weeks, 8 weeks before Nats. I went to the Pokemon regional, and as far as side events went, what was really cool is like you had different packages when with Pokemon regionals. You have different packages that you can purchase as a player, and they all offer different things. And like one of the benefits of like the premium package that you pay as a player is it allows you to enter in a side event for free. Like it's completely free. Which I know Bandai side events were free too. However, the difference being is that you would go and you would in essence redeem your ticket for a side event. At which point you would receive, and this kind of goes back to like let's Red Lobster this thing. You would receive a buzzer, literally like a buzzer, like they do at restaurants, and you would hold on to that buzzer, and if your buzzer went off, that means you were qualified for going and playing in a side event. Which like again, it's the same concept of
Lottery,
like pulling a ticket and saying you're free to go do what you want, like enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
If your buzzer buzzes, show up right back here. We'll get you into a side event. But you're not like to Ian's like what Ian was saying. Like when people are waiting an hour, 2 hours plus for a side event to launch, like you're gonna get 10 people out of a 32 person side event.
Yeah.
And so that was like in compare like when you mentioned Pokemon regionals, I remember the side event was a great way to do it. It's like, hey, not everyone's gonna get into a side event. We understand that, but like here's a buzzer, go have fun, go do your thing. As a player, you can even play in the tournament if you think you're just gonna like X2 drop and you're just like not that guy, but you still want to keep playing games. Like you can still be a player and compete in the side tournament. And you just all you have to do is just hold on to your buzzer and you're good to go. So
Yeah. I like that idea, and yeah, like I said, I think this all boils back to like they could do these things very easily through the app, and that would be really nice. Yeah, it would be really nice to get that going. But you know, something that we talked about, all of us, right before we started the episode, was that you know, now that we've had our first experience, we're going into Championship 2 or Nats 2, which is supposed to be, we couldn't find the roadmap, but we saw it somewhere that it's supposed to be sometime in the fall this year, right? And so if it's supposed to be in the fall sometime this year, now we have like, okay, what are the expectations after this first one, right? Are we expecting it to be better? Are we expecting it to be different? Will it have a cost? This, that, and the other stuff that we've been talking about this whole episode. But one thing I wanted to touch on was that, yet again, wish I could have found the link to it. I'm going to have to do some digging, and I'll probably leave it down in the comments below, guys. But there was this roadmap that had kind of implied a very interesting concept, which I wanted to talk with you guys about. I thought it was very interesting. I like the idea personally, but it was instead of everybody, I'm not sure, you guys didn't have to deal with the shit show, I believe, no, maybe you did, Daniel, but trying to sign up for the national event on the app was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. Like 2 hours of getting blocked notification, like, nope, not working, you suck, blah, blah, blah. What it looked as though on this new roadmap was that they had a different idea of how they were going to bring people into the second championship, was have the national invites through regionals like we usually do, but also simultaneously getting an invite by competing in store championships throughout the nation. So you play in a store championship, you get into, it will give your Bandai code, like your account, right? The ability to then apply for the event when it comes up. And then if any extra spots they have, they would open it up to the public. But I actually personally like the idea of being able to go to your local store, because not everybody can sign up for these online events. It's very difficult to get into. You have to be on your like P's and Q's to get like into these online events. They sell out within seconds, like a minute to 2 minutes tops. It's gone.
You got to be fast.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is like this gives people a local opportunity to try and compete and get into, the national event. And I think it's just I don't know. I personally thought it would be a win-win, but I'd love to hear what y'all's opinions are on it.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that, but
Sure.
I'd like to see. I did put in the chat here with you guys, so you guys can see it. I found this from someone else's video.
I
just
unfortunately
now.
can't see it.
Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Yeah.
But essentially, FTC.
I'll pull it up on my phone.
Maybe you thought. I do want to actually talk a little bit of Bandai's experience. Not Bandai, Bushiroad. Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds really interesting. They had something similar,
Yes,
but
this is
nothing
it. Yeah.
this crazy. Okay. So again, to kind of go over it, spring and summer, they're going to have a regionals in spring, regionals in summer, and then autumn, it's going to do a championships. And then sometime late autumn, it's going to do more regionals. And then it says also championship finals again. So doing 2 nationals, once in the autumn, once in winter, and then worlds somewhere in 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's going to be 2 nationals. I don't know if that means it's going to be 2 in North America, but I'm assuming they're going to be all over the place where they'll have like this regions will do theirs, this region will do theirs. It'd be cool if everyone has 2 nationals all together.
Mm-hmm.
That would be legit. However, the store championships, which isn't on here right now on this page, right? The store championships, and I don't know what they're going to be doing in the future. I'm assuming they're doing open invites forever for nationals going forward.
Okay.
But it'd be kind of cool if it was only invite only, to be honest. Maybe a little more exclusive. The reason why I do not like store championships is because it's highly abusable. So let's say, you win a store championship, but you're just saying, yeah, I'm not going to go because I had the worst experience last time I went to nationals. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm going to say I'm not going, but can I sell it to the second place person? Right. Like that's
But I mean,
terrible
it would
things.
be tied to your Bandai ID though, would it not?
It would.
Yeah. So like selling your spot, you would have to like heaven for like. So here's the thing, and I think it'd be tied to your Bandai ID. So like, one of my friends that made top 16, like if you perform extremely well on day 2, they were looking at your ID, your physical ID, and then doing their deck list. So like, I guess that could happen, but at the same time, if that person performs extremely well and they make it to day 2 and they're like, oh, let me see your ID that associates your name with the Bandai ID, then you're just SOL. So it's like,
well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like, I'm versus Ian over here. Okay. I'm not going to nationals, but he's, he has a wallet with too much money. And I definitely have this game on lock, because
you got the wrong guy.
I just saw it. Right. And then, but Ian just says to me, hey man, if you lose this game, I'll give you $1,000. I'm like, okay, sounds good, right? Like,
oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
I see.
There are 100 different ways. There's also not truthful shops out there. There are shops that don't exist. They exist on the Bandai app.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
But when you go there, they're on the app. But you go there, there's no shop there. They must get promos. They probably sell them on Facebook somewhere.
Yeah,
it's terrible. That's where I think it's abusable, and I don't like that portion of it.
So I get the
I'm
idea.
trying to remove the bad portions of
right. I get the idea of what Sage is getting at now. Is I didn't think about it this way. So like so Daniel, you and I are right, but like saying it's tied to your account.
Yeah.
But you're in the finals with somebody and you go, I'm going to give you the win on the app so that you have the ability to get into the national event, but I get the prizing. Right. So like you give me the prizing for the store champ and like I'll give you just the win just so that you can have it, or you either pay me or like
honestly, like,
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm okay with that because
Yeah.
let's be honest.
I mean,
because like
It's not the
dude,
worst thing ever, you know.
This happens all the time in
Yeah.
tournaments. Like when like there's like top players, they'll be like, "Hey, we splitting top? Like, are we splitting prizing?" You
Yeah.
know, and we shake hands and we say, "All right, it doesn't matter who comes first or second. Like, we're splitting the prizing."
Yeah.
This happens all the time when it comes to like tournaments that have a lot on the line. Is like I've seen people just do it with like complete. Most of the time, it's like friendly people where it's like, "Hey, buddy, we both made it. Like, you know, let's go and have a nice dinner together after the tournament's over. We'll split the prize and, you know, whatever."
Yeah.
But like, honestly, man, like I've traveled out of town to like San Antonio to go play tournaments, and people that make the finals will sit down, and before they even play the first game, they have that conversation of like, "Hey, man, like, are you open to the idea that we split the prizing?" Or there's always something that is taking place behind the scenes of just like if like, dude, I'm telling y'all right now, these players
It's all about money.
That the players that constantly top are smart about how they make their money. And like if they think if they think there's an opportunity for me to play the safe bet on this, whether I come, if I just in case I get second place, they're gonna hedge that bet with their opponent. And they're gonna say, "Look, let's make this so we both win." So like that's that whole idea and that whole concept it's not foreign to TCGs and competitive aspect. Like it's legit. Like the point that Sage is making is legit, but it's kind of like one of those, like, you kind of take the good with the bad with that type of scenario. And to be honest with you, like I don't know if there's a perfect way to go about it, and I don't think that like maybe that doesn't exist, but I feel like the way that they're going about it is probably a better way. And if people finagle their way into Nat some way, shape, or form, it just kind of is what it is. Like it just like. If you want to be there that desperately, and you're willing to like buy your way into it, so be it, man. Like it is what it is.
I mean, because at the end of the day, like it's gonna be the players that are playing the best that are gonna do well in the national event anyway.
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't be super concerned about Joe Schmo from like some random local store comparatively to somebody that top 16'd in a regional. Like if you top 16 in a regional, you're obviously very good at the game, right? You've done well, you've competed, you earned your spot. I don't think I would be, all too scared of, me over here just being like, "Hey, bro, you already got your store champ. You want to just hand that down to me?" Like, probably.
That's a side thing too. I was more afraid to face somebody who was 2-0 rather than someone who had a bye in round 3 at the tournament. Okay.
Oh, so this
we can go into that later.
No, yeah. So this is interesting. I think as far as like, so the reason why I liked this idea was I don't think that store champ, right, would give the round bye. I think that yet again, this is all speculation as to how they would do it, but I would imagine that store champ would be essentially like that's your entry level, and then if you got the invite through regional top 16, top 32, whatever, that's the 2-round bye. Or they might just do away with the 2-round bye altogether. But if they did, then it feels like getting your invite through regionals isn't that important. But
well,
all I know
the worst thing is.
God. I was gonna say, if it's store championship invites, I am flying to the most obscure LCS in South Dakota, and I am farming. I am like gonna farm a win over in South Dakota because my local scene is. Boy, let me tell you, it's tough, man. It's not. I mean,
that's a doggy world.
Yeah, I know, man. But you know what? As an old man with a family, I can't keep up with these
young bucks,
bro. Like, it's just. My old manisms, bro. I'm just not there. So like, I'm gonna be like, wife. She's gonna be like, "Why did you just buy a plane ticket to South Dakota?" I was like,
"Don't worry about
championship,
it."
Baby. This could all be remedied if there was some clear communication and knowing what's going on. I wish there was some sort of Bandai ambassador. Okay, some Bandai ambassador that just. You ask them a question, they can answer it on Twitter or whatever that is. They bring up like some fact, something where they can just answer questions, because these questions they're not being answered, and there's too many of them. And it'd be kind of nice to have some sort of fact, right? So
I'll take the job. Just pay me.
Well, and like again, it just comes back to the point that was being made. It's like the simplest thing, and then like it's not gonna cost. Well, maybe who knows? Maybe it is something that would come out of pocket, but like. The fundamental flaw in this all is the lack of communication. Like that is that is the fundamental thing where it's just like, if so much of this could just be alleviated by communicating.
Mm.
And that again is like, it doesn't take much to communicate. It really doesn't. And so that I think is like where 90% of my frustration lies. It's like, if I just knew what was going on, and just like, even if it's not what I want to hear, at least I'm prepared for it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the most
Yes.
frustrating aspect of this whole
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, I do agree 100%. Is that
But-
I think the theme? Oh,
Well, no, go ahead, because I
Okay.
kind of want to pivot the I kind of want to pivot the conversation ever so slightly
Yeah.
back to like the positive things.
no, absolutely.
But go ahead. Ian.
Yeah, well, I just think that the theme of what we've been discussing is that, as players and as fans of the game, as content creators, we're not going anywhere. We're, we just had a bad experience, and well, I'll say a bad experience in some ways, but a great experience in others. So, like, for example, I got to meet both of you in person. You know what I mean?
Well,
overrated.
That was
Just kidding.
overrated. Yeah, you're right.
Just
But
kidding.
it was awesome to get to meet you guys, and it was so amazing to meet so many others. And it does take something like a national event to make something like that happen. And I can't afford to go to all the offline events ever. So like one trip a year, something like that, while I'm trying to plan out a wedding, that works for me personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, the I feel like the underlying, elephant in the room as far as the whole event and where our gripes were really boils down to a lack of communication. I feel like communication with your players, communication with your staff, communication
Spectators.
through spectators, as well as just like through social medias. It really keeps players informed, excited. Fans of the game are they get excited about these new promos and stuff like that. It's awesome, and I think that would make the whole experience, as well as the rest of it, a lot better.
What it does is it lets me know that you care, right? Like, it lets me know that you care enough to like keep me informed. And so when I'm not informed, it it makes me feel like you just like don't care. And I'm not saying that's their sentiment,
They
because
don't.
I
They
know
don't like you.
well, but like, it's amazing how much just a little bit of communication can make me feel like, you know what, they're looking out for my experience.
Yeah,
They're looking out
yeah.
for me. But when that is not there, it just feels like you're gonna like have your cake, like you're gonna enjoy this, and whether it goes well or not, like just enjoy it. And I think that's like where it's just like, that kind of hurts. But
Yeah.
I wanted to pivot to like, and this was something that was really interesting. I wanted to pivot to like the good thing, with a couple of the good things, and this one in particular, I think it being free is a double-edged sword. I think that's extremely commendable, and I applaud Bandai for doing that. As much as like I kind of had a grievance with it, if it means me paying money to have a better experience, I'm willing to do it. But I think it's extremely commendable that they made it free. I think that can't be overlooked, and I don't want to take something that was meant as a good gesture to the players as something and spin it as a negative and be that guy, because that was amazing for them to do that. And like there's a legitimate appreciation that comes with that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. But also a good point that someone else brought up, and I don't know how much like Bandai deserves the credit for this, but it is the fact is that your participation stuff paid for, if you sold like, let's just say you just cashed out on all your participation stuff, all the packs that you got, the promos, like if you bought the playmat, like let's just say you like, this was a very tight trip for you financially.
It paid for the trip. Yeah.
Just barely squeezed by to be able to afford this. The participation stuff alone could have covered your trip, came pretty damn close to covering in terms of value. Now, again, how much do we want to give Bandai credit for like the market dictating the value of these items? I don't.
Right.
But that's really cool. The event was free, and the participation that you the participation items that you got was of extreme value. And if you were in a financial situation to where like it was tough for you to make it, and you just wanted to kind of like cash out and just say, this trip was actually, after I sold all my stuff, this trip was actually very reasonable, very affordable. So like I don't think there's I don't know if there's any other TCG tournament that you could actually make that same claim for, where it's like the pricing, and I'm not talking about like top pricing. I'm talking about just for enrolling and registering.
Oh
that
yeah.
it actually like covered a lot of your expenses, which is really cool. That is really awesome. And so like that was another aspect that I feel like should not be overlooked when it came to.
I will say
Yeah.
the One Piece participation, sorry, the One Piece promo bubble, compared to most TCGs, is an anomaly, which can only be explained as it's One Piece, right?
Yeah.
No other card game can get away with printing promos, unless they're really good cards. But these cards aren't good that we're getting.
You
These
don't
cards,
like the 10 drop 12K vanilla, bro?
well, that's a collectible card. All these
It's a
cards they're giving
collectible,
us,
sure.
all these cards are not actually used in the card
Wow.
game. Okay, well, some of them are, but they're alt arts of the card. You can get the $1 Suru, or you can get the $1,000 Suru with from the finalist one, where you know. So it's all ridiculous, but it's kind of what drives people toward this game. I actually was driven toward this game because of money. Actually, I played in some promos, and I was like, oh, you tell me I went to my locals, they gave me a few promos, I made $80. Well, I guess I'm just gonna be playing this game. Why would I go to work when I could just go to locals, you know, and, do okay? And then it extends from that. So you're right. I do appreciate the third market. I'm glad Bandai can, you know, put their money to the side and print us out a few pieces of cardboard which you can sell at a very high market rate. So I do appreciate that. That is a good plus. And I do want to say, I don't think if this happened at every single tournament where you can get promo packs that would sell for $1,000 for participation, right? They wouldn't be worth that much because there'd be so many events. If this is like a once a year national thing, that's what makes it actually even more serious to get to nationals if they have like an invite only.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Pricing alone. But what if this was invite only? How much more would these promos be? Like double.
Oh
least,
yeah.
Right.
Oh, I would say, because I mean, if I don't know, I'm just trying to think about it. Like, how many invites were passed out? You know,
500.
Like, no,
About 500.
Oh,
Yeah.
you said 500.
NA?
Oh, I thought you said
for North America.
I thought you said 100. I was like,
No.
you're insane.
500.
No, yeah, about 500.
500. There were 500 invites.
Okay, that makes
given
sense.
out.
Now, here's the thing: if there's about 500, right? How many of those people actually showed up? You know?
If they know, let's say 95%, because normally if there was no participation bullshit, then not maybe like 70%, right?
Right.
But like realistically, it's just a game of money. But like, is it worth it for me to go? And it's like, oh yeah, you're definitely gonna get an insane amount of pricing just from going as a participant alone.
Yeah.
So imagine if it was you could only go and get those. That would be actually even more insane and like, you know, quadruple even that kind of participant pricing.
And it incentivizes the TCG that much more, right? Like how much like it makes people like want to go harder when it's like, you know what, like even if I just get the invite, like I'm good. Like, and so like it makes people really want to like put in the time and the effort to say, you know what, dude, like I'm grinding for my invite, and if I get there, I'm golden. So
small segue. This made a big market, and this is kind of what I don't coach, but I do a big market with coaching, right? Because there's a huge incentive for people to do well in this game for pricing, and they just want to do better personally or financially. It makes sense for them financially to buy coaching from good players and get that coaching, and then when they do okay in a tournament, that basically pays for the coaching immediately, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy because a lot of these people that coach, they never actually wanted to coach to begin with. They played the game, they did well, and people asked them, hey, can I pay you for your time? Right? Just to talk to you about what this card game is. I want to spread some light on that because it to tell anybody, you can get bad advice for free all the time. Okay. But if you can get
I give it out all day.
Someone's exactly right. Just go to subscribe to KekFilA, get bad advice for free, or you can pay money and get the good advice. But generally, the one-on-one aspect of getting better at the game, I think, is what appeals to people, and why that's even such a big market for coaching. And that's a little tangent there, but that's a positive that's came from this market of coaching because of these price cards are so expensive.
No, absolutely. And I think that as far as people trying to, compete their hearts out for these cards, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, there's, not many prints of a lot of these that even go out. So the market, as far as like a popularity standpoint and like just as far as supply and demand overall, it makes sense that some of these cards are very expensive. Like, for example, that 3-cost Rush Zoro. I mean, that card's insane. Like, I don't even think it's listed anymore because there's like none. And
there's less of those than Treasure Cup Luffy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, serial Luffy's. Yeah, it's crazy. So that's what I'm saying is like there's such a wild market for some of those, and it's worth competing and getting better at the game as a whole to try and get your hands on some of these prize cards.
Mm-hmm. Well, and like it also filters out the people that, like, for instance, like locally, there are people that are in our One Piece Discord, and I'm not bashing them, but it just kind of is what it is. That are literally there just to have notifications on for like events for store championships because they're not showing up to locals. They're not, like we as like the quote unquote local scene where it's like, hey, I know 95% of the people on the local scene.
Yep.
And then someone just shows up and they're like, it's for a store championship, and they're just like, like I'm going with the starter deck, and I just want my store championship cards, and it's like, but it kind of filters out that person, and it's like,
yeah,
because like to the point that we're being made is like One Piece promos and like those cards are very, very, they can be very expensive, and there's a market for them.
Oh,
so, like,
yeah.
The invite is actually like a way to kind of filter out the person who's just trying to farm those that type of participation packs and prizing and things like that.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, actually, you know what? Never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
No.
I mean, I don't want to. I'll say it because maybe it gets back to Bandai and we can do something about this, but I don't know. This is just what I heard. I don't know. I mean, the person that I heard it from is a very trusted person. But like, just to kind of prove the point when it comes to like the value of these participation packs, apparently there were people actually farming them at Nats, meaning when the employees would go over their like change their shifts, they would go back down and try and get more participation and prizing. And they were able to get like 2 or 3 bags.
I thought you were talking about the celebration packs and stuff.
They would do that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
So like, well, and then you had all the vultures around the whole arena that were literally just walking person to person, like, hey, you selling? Hey, you selling? Like, this is what I'm. Yeah. And so,
it was
like,
it was a buyer's place, man. It was I should have sold my stuff when I was there, to be honest. It went down.
I know so many people were telling me like, you can get banned if you do sell, and I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna do anything then.
Because of how bad the event was, and this is a positive, okay? Because of how bad the event was ran, there was no monitoring of anything, because they said before, if they see you with cash in hand, you're gonna get banned. And because they had no time to worry about your little business or your multi-million-dollar business, whatever scale you were, they didn't have any room to police any of that. You could just literally be in front of a judge and being like, hey man, I got a card for you, $20. Like, okay, here you go, here's some cash. Like, all right, man. The judge just says, good trade. That was a good trade. I appreciate that. That was good.
There was a guy that had like I saw this was hilarious, man. I was trying to pick up something, whatever. He had a sign, right, that literally had the promo card taped onto it, and he said, I think it was like $30. He was like buying these like $30 a piece, and like I definitely saw 1 or 2 people come up and get $30.
Yeah,
and I was like, damn.
I think that's pro strats. Just have a live auction house, right there.
There was another rumor was that there was a guy who flew from EU down to Latin America, and just went absolutely insane on buying up all the prizing, like all the participation, and just farmed literally all the promos, all the packs, all the top prizing. And just came out of pocket from EU and just flew back to EU with literally suitcases worth of just stuff that he, I'm sure is gonna just turn around and make a killing off.
That's crazy.
Speaking of prizing, and a thing they're already kind of counteracting for this. Obviously, that guy's just going there to buy stuff. That's just a money move, right? He's a businessman making business moves. Have you guys heard what they're doing about Australia, that region? So in Australia, those TOs and Bandai, for offline events, like in-person events, right? They are giving priority signups if you live in Australia as a citizen, right?
Oh,
So if you are, let's say, someone who goes to Australia to play all the time in their events because their events aren't that big, you will not get priority. That's not a chance to get in. After that's all finished, they will let you in. If you like, let's say you're from Singapore. This is going to affect most people that live in Singapore, okay?
sure.
That's who goes there. Team Seafood King, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? They all go there and they just do really well. I heard something like in Australia that like 15 people were not from Australia. That
Oh,
made
wow.
top 16. That made top 16. Sorry.
Yeah.
So like something crazy like that, right? And basically they're giving it mostly just to Australians first, and if there is room, they will then allow off of a wait list other people that are outside of that. I don't know the in-betweens, but they've announced basically just saying if you're not an Australian citizen, you're going to be put on a wait list. If there's enough room, you will be allowed on here.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because right now it might be just the lesser played region because it's Australia. It's kind of hard to play live in Australia, right? If
Yeah.
you probably live there.
Yeah. Well, I heard they have terrible internet.
Well, I thought there was like 1,500 people that live in Australia too.
And yeah, there's more kangaroos than people actually in Australia. Actually, that's a fact.
More kangaroos
You know?
than Australia.
There are
Well,
more
damn, Ian,
kangaroos
we were-
in Australia than Australians.
We were just talking about Mexico City. You and I were supposed to fly out to Mexico City and just farm the tournaments there and have our tacos and tequila. But I guess
By the way,
that's been thrown out the window now.
Well, that's Australia. For Mexico, you could probably do that. Most good North American players I know will go to every single Mexican event because it's actually a good time. It's really funny. They're not like Mexican players are actually good. Okay, people from there, they're good players. That's just fine.
I just hear the events are
problem is
better.
the events are better.
Yeah.
The events are better. Why not go to Cabo and play One Piece, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Why are we flying out to LA, bro? Like what?
Yeah.
Where you want to talk about
Nationals?
a misplay, dude?
Look,
Yeah.
bro.
What a botch. We misplayed the hell out of this, bro.
Thought it
we
would be
could
cool.
digging our toes into the sand and Cabo and
That's true.
and enjoying
living
the
like
finest-
kings.
yeah, Mexican Hello Kitty.
enjoying the finest top shelf
You know?
tequilas in Mexico City. What are we doing, bro?
You know, honest mistake, and I think we'll have to set up for the second wave of trips, for events. The next time a little bit better.
There's
Yeah.
already, I don't know where you can find it, but you can find those events somewhere. My buddy, they go to every Mexican event, like every
Yeah.
an event and anywhere in Mexico.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a financial decision, and they also have a good time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Heck yeah.
Hey, my mom is Mexican. I can get back to my roots, man.
Yeah, we could do it.
So they need to ask them for Hello Kitty if they have that first.
Yeah, if they don't
God.
have a room, I'm not going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
So,
Yeah, we need special requests.
But you know what, dude?
Yeah.
I'm super excited for, where this is all going to go after Nats won and just kind of seeing where the championship leads us to. And, honestly, I think it's been fun to just kind of conversate about, and like kind of hypothesize of like what could have been done better, what failed, where we could have maybe improved on the whole event. But I'm always optimistic. I think that we have a lot to go. We have a lot to do. And I'm super excited. But my man Sage over here, as we are about to head out, dude, tell everybody, tell the good people, we've got the links over here, but tell the people where we can find you. What are you up to these days?
All right.
All that good stuff.
You guys, what I'm working on lately, by the way, is I work with Will to Win Gaming. So if you can find that Patreon, you can find me on Twitter. I beat that Patreon a lot and on that Twitter. So you can find me at KekFilA on Twitter. You can find me also KekFilA TCG on YouTube. I did just change that as well.
I saw that.
I do some live streaming for One Piece and World of Warcraft, just kind of what I'm having fun with on twitch.tv/KekFilA. And my whole shtick is I like to play a lot of Blue Doflamingo and Blue Yellow Queen. And it's not exactly fighting the off meta thing, but I try to win games, right? And the main thing is just making your life easier as far as that journey goes. So I appreciate you giving me that shout out. I really appreciate you having me here. It's been really fun.
Dude, it has been fun. I
Yeah.
could not agree more. And Yeah, I think we there's some moments that we're gonna look back on in this and be like, oh my god, we were cracking up, we were dying.
We didn't even jump into OPO6. That's another whole episode.
That's
Yeah,
yeah.
So,
fair.
yeah.
OPO6 another day, another time. But Daniel, any closing words for us?
Not really, to be honest with you. I'm kind of with you. Like, I think my passion and loyalty for this game is what's going to pull me through my experience.
100%.
I am cautiously optimistic. Like, I feel like I always feel like I'm being too dramatic, but like I don't know how much worse it could have actually got than this last nationals. So it's like we can only go up. You're right. Like,
Right.
You can only improve from there. And so, like, as someone who I have to pick and choose when I'm out of town for these kinds of events, much less like flying halfway across the nation. So I have to be conservative with the choices that I make when it comes to competing in this game. And so, like, I want to give Bandai the trust that they're going to handle these situations well when I do step away from my life to go, participate. And I am cautiously optimistic. I think they probably heard a lot of feedback from this already.
Yeah.
And so I think the only way to go is up from here. But also, Sage, thank you so much for coming on. I knew it was gonna be like a Three Stooges kind of episode where we're just like having fun and cracking up and having a good time, and it was every bit of that. So appreciate you coming on, and maybe after the next nationals we can kind of have like a comparison in between like our thoughts post first nationals and then our thoughts post second nationals, and kind of see
that would be great.
Highlight some of those differences and what improvements were made and so on and so forth. So thanks so much for coming on, Sage.
Yeah, my pleasure. And open invitation to my podcast as well. So
yes,
there we go.
The KekCast. Love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, one, thank you for watching till the end of the podcast, but also just leave a like down below. If you're listening on Spotify, we appreciate you checking us out over there. Other than that, we hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.